Welcome, Wanderer. The angels have descended on Sanctuary, and they brought their heavenly forge and sanctification with them, which is the final step into your item's journey, which could either lift it up to absolute insanity or actually brick and destroy it. This is the heavenly forge featuring the angel Hadriel. We finally got angels on Sanctuary. You take your weapon in the end stage, 20 times masterwork, tempered everything, then put it onto the heavenly forge and sanctify said item. What can happen now? Well, first and foremost, you could get another Greater Affix like that. But you could also get the absolute non-plus ultra. We currently have 4 affixes on. This item is not masterworked and not tempered, because 4 affixes now is standard. And what you can see here is that it has 2 aspects. Yes, 2 aspects. Sanctification can just add another legendary aspect to any item you put in there. It has Vehement Brawler for the ultimate booster, and it has the Anger Management. While above 36 Fury, your Berserk but Fury drains per second. This could be bad, because you don't actually want your Fury to drain per second, right? You did not want this aspect. Technically, getting a second aspect is amazing. I mean, I'm playing minions here right now. I get 60% bonus damage, and I could get my core skills give me 30% bonus attack speed. Even though I'm a minion build and don't really use much core skills, I could still make use of it. However, you might also get Great Feast even though you did not want to play Great Feast, and it will now drain your essence consistently, and you actually get to take care of this problem. Which means, despite being a very good thing, it's still a gamble that could give you something that either does nothing, boosts you, or is even to your detriment. And that's not even all of it, because worse things could happen. First, Sanctifying item makes it unmodifiable. You cannot do anything afterwards anymore. Which means you gotta make sure to 20 times masterwork your item beforehand. Yes, that's the new masterworking now. You're gonna click 20 times that button. You're gonna have it fully masterworked, and one of your affix bonus is turned into a Greater Affix. And you obviously want to put your temper on, which is now easier than ever because you can exactly choose which temper you want. No more gambling on the actual temper. The only gambling that you have left is the percentage. How high is it gonna be, 105% or 85%? After you've done all of this, it's time to sanctify. Now, sanctifying can give you that bonus legendary power, which is amazing. It can improve an affix into a greater affix. And this is actually triple important nowadays, because right now I can just masterwork an item, hit the 25%, and increase my golem active cooldown reduction so I can spam my golem. However, that bonus stat boosting doesn't happen anymore in Season 11. So now, if I want my golem active cooldown reduction to be better, I will have to masterwork the item, and then I will have to hope that the greater affix at the end hits the golem active cooldown reduction, or reroll it until that turns into a greater affix. Which means the sanctification itself is another chance to get a greater affix on something you want greater affix. Might it be core skills, lucky hit chance, ranks to golem mastery, whatever kind of like that, right? Will boost it even further. Then we can add a bonus affix from a pool of special sanctification affixes. That's kind of crazy because you have 4 affixes on it with a tempering, and then you can get a 6th specialized super affix that we don't know what it could be yet because we haven't seen all these. And now to the very bad things. Replace an existing affix with a random sanctification affix. And that's potentially horrible because if I have a ring with attack speed, greater affix, maximum life intelligence, right? The perfect ring, max roll golem active cooldown reduction, greater affix as well. And I sanctify it, and it just removes the golem active cooldown reduction for 400% more damage against demons, or whatever the sanctified affix could be. The item is ruined, because the only reason I had that item was for the golem cooldown reduction. Now, obviously, sanctification is not something you're forced to do, right? It's a bonus to do at the end of an item's journey. But you only want to ever sanctify if you have a potential replacement item. Because again, either it's going to turn out good, or it's potentially getting ruined, and you lose your core skill ranks or whatever you had on your gloves. You're going to lose your golem mastery you had on your chest, and therefore it's not the item you wanted to have anymore. Unless the sanctification affixes are so absolutely bonkers insane wholesale super buffs. This is a potential complete brick of an item. And then you have the last one, which is useless, and it says make your item indestructible. So sanctifying can not only do good things and brick your item, it can also be completely useless. You just sanctified an item and it's also done. Right? Because if I make an item indestructible, I will not get a bonus legendary power. I will not get a greater affix. So this is the same as replacing something I want with a random one. I just end the journey of an item and it's over. It's always going to be weaker. How am I now going to compete in the leaderboards versus the people that have the perfect items with the double aspects, with the super sanctification whatsoever, right? How am I going to compete there now if I made my item indestructible? It's equally done. But wait, there's more, because what about your unique or even mythic items and sanctification? Because they can get sanctified too. The unsung reps here get bonus lightning damage, and it's multiplicative lightning damage. Yes, 6.5% increased lightning damage on a storm build. Just another multiplier. Huge. Again, leaderboard thought, right? Bid anything. We get the Grasp of Shadows. And the Grasp of Shadows, which gives you the Shadow Clone, got another aspect on it. What? Yes. Your unique items can actually get existing aspects. They can get aspects. You're going to have your Amulet, the Banished Lord's Talisman, which gives you the core skill chance multiplier. And suddenly you're also getting the sacrifice bonus increased by 78% because it's still an amulet aspect. It will still get boosted, or your two-handed weapon, if you play actually the Grandfather, gets another aspect, right? The Grandfather giving you that thousands of critical strike damage plus, and suddenly you get the two-handed aspect you need and want for your build. Oh boy. Lastly, the Shroud of the False Death over here also has, after casting 5 basic skills, one of your active cooldowns is reduced by 2 seconds, on top of what it anyways does with all the things available. See, that basic skill one now is virtually useless. You sanctified the Shroud of the False Death, it's still a good item, however, it's not the Shroud you want. It's not the Shroud you were looking forward to, because you might not play this in a basic skill build. However, if this happens, you might actually start playing a basic skill build because you would now have the perfect Shroud of False Death for that, for a perfect basic skill build. All of this sounds nice and dandy, and it looks like we might receive a power boost due to that. However, that is actually not true, because we're potentially getting weaker. Since, yes, sanctifying might add a greater affix, or a percentage multiplier, or a second aspect. But let's look at this axe right now. It has 182 strength, maximum life, 40 damage, and critical strike damage. It does have 4 aspects, so we actually get another damage bonus that we would usually have gotten over the second temper, but we can only temper one time now. So first and foremost, we gotta actually find the item that has 4 really good affixes with the greater affix in the right position, because since it can have 4 affixes, it's gonna be harder than ever to, at least at the beginning, find the one with the right greater affix, or we're gonna find more greater affix item right now with doubles. We don't know yet. Still though, you're gonna get an item with 4 things, and then you can temper one thing on it. If I now masterwork this weapon though, my 8.7% golem damage is going to move all the way up to a grand total of 148.8%, or a total of 178.5, or like around 150% if I didn't masterwork crit it, right? So the damage actually goes up. Sure, by masterworking a weapon, you increase the base damage of a weapon, but you don't increase anything else anymore. And that also includes the maximum life, that includes critical strike chance, lucky hit chance, all these kind of things, even cooldown reduction. Unless I 20 times masterwork then something up and get the greater affix on the cooldown reduction, I will not meaningful boost my cooldown reduction further forward, right? I might actually struggle to get my golem cooldown low for 4 seconds, and the same goes for attribute stacking. My Fireball Sword is sitting here with the Staff of Endless Rage with 11 ranks to Fireball, which won't be 11 ranks anymore, right? It would simply be greater affix. The Glove of the Illuminator also just greater affix, so 4 ranks 2 instead of 6. That's all a huge multiplier loss on your main damage piece. And it just goes on and on and on, right? Every piece that would give you core skill ranks, you can only greater affix it, so you get it at the minimal value possible. Again, sure, we're getting a 4th affix on items, but that doesn't care about unique items. Unique items did have 4 affixes anyways. Sure, you can then masterwork them up and get a second greater affix that will then give me more projectile speed. But that more projectile speed will still not make my fireballs stronger. Which makes me wholesale assume that it's going to be harder than ever to make certain builds work and also reach certain breakpoints. because a death trap rogue that needs a really big amount of cooldown reduction paired together with the right amount of essence that you also get over maximum resource greater affixes, and then you master wake them further up. Yeah, that build is non-existent anymore. I mean, right now in Season 10, we have a bigger build variety than ever due to Chaos perks just really allowing us to go for Brawn over Brains and then Beast Cornered or Alter the Balance, Grim Reaper Skeletons, whatever, permanent critical striking. Even if you put on Chaos Unlash, right, you could technically go for a Lucky Hit Chance Chaos Orb build. The build variety is great. All of my classes have at least 3 to 4 builds that I could play meaningful to pit 100. And now we're back to one build. One build they think is the theme, maybe 2 builds. And all of these builds are going to be weaker than ever before, unless they also tinkered with the life of enemies. And Torment 4 is going to be quite the intriguing challenge. So either it's going to make the game wholesale harder, slower, more tedious, and the player power is severely dropping, or they tinker with things again. Well, we'll see. Maybe people want it this way. Maybe people want to struggle to get into Torment 4. And Pit 100 is once again becoming a figure of the distant past instead of being the new norm. What do you think about player power in general and sanctification? Is that going to be it? Is this going to work and going to be amazing? Tell me in the comments below. And also watch this video on Season 11 or I'm going to haunt your dreams. Take care.